What is up, folks? Welcome to Into the Necrosphere. Today, my guest is going to be the legendary Kevin Sharp of Brutal Truth, Lockup, and Venomous Concept. As I intimated last week, this was one of those interviews where I wasn't entirely sure what to expect beforehand. I came out of that conversation being a much, much bigger fan of Kevin than I was going in. I liked him before, but he's just such an honest, interesting guy. You guys are going to see exactly what I mean in about 5 minutes' time. But first, we travel to Quebec, Canada, for our demo of the week. And the spotlight on this occasion falls to a band called Sulfure. That is Sulfure with an E, so spelled S-U-L-F-U-R-E. A quartet who have been around by the looks of things for a fairly short period of time. In the interest of transparency, this was not a demo that was actually sent to me. I discovered this on Black Metal Promotion, but it is filthy, crusty, gnarly, and aggressive black and death metal, just the way I like it. And I figured I needed to share it with all of you. The demo that they've put out is called Neurotism, and I am going to play a track for you off that right now called L'Entrée de la Tarasque. And I know I've probably raped the French language there, but it doesn't really matter because the badassery that you're about to hear speaks in all languages. L'Entrée de la Tarasque by Sulfure out of Quebec City, Canada, off of a demo called Neurotism. Absolutely spectacular stuff, and I am really, really looking forward to hearing what these guys do next. And like I said, not one that was sent to me, but one I discovered on Black Metal Promotion, and I figured that you guys needed to hear it as well. I will share the Bandcamp link for Sulfur in the description of the podcast, so do check them out. And if you're in a band and you want to experience the fame and glory brought about by a spot on my Demo of the Week segment, then email me your best stuff at intothenecrosphere@gmail.com, or hit me up on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. And those links I will post in the description of the podcast as well. And if I like what I hear, I will play it on the show. If I don't like what I hear, I will ignore your emails and pretend that somehow it got caught up in my spam folder. Coming up later on in the show, I'm going to be talking about the new Krallice record. I'm also going to be doing some news. And next week, I am going to be doing the second installment of my death metal series. Obviously, last week we did numbers 50 to 41 alongside the inimitable and badass Marco from Stellar Master Elite. So that was a lot of fun. Moving on, I've got a couple of guests lined up to potentially do that with me. I'm not going to announce who it is just yet, but what I will say is I am lining up for the last 3, potentially 4 installments of the series, people that were from the specific bands that I'm going to be talking about on that list. So that's quite exciting. I've spoken with Kelly Schaefer from Atheist. He's going to be on for one, which kind of gives away one of the bands that's higher up in the list. And there's a few other folks that are in the pipeline as well. So lots of exciting stuff to come. Remember that if you are watching this for the first time on YouTube and you prefer to listen to your podcasts on iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify, you can do so. The show is available on all of those platforms and pretty much any other platform that you care to indulge in streaming media on. And then obviously we've got the video version as well on YouTube. So if you're listening to this on iTunes and you want to see who the handsome stallion is that's talking to you, then you can jump onto that as well. Give the show a like, give it a share. And if the spirit moves you to do so, then subscribe to the show so that you can get a fresh new episode downloaded to your device of choice and service of choice for free every Tuesday, which is when I put up new stuff. Outside of that, the Metal Matters podcast that I did with Mike Hill dropped. So I mentioned a few weeks ago that I'd been a guest and had done a recording with him for one of the classic records Metal Matters episodes. We did Gorgoroth's Ad Majorem Satanas Gloriam, which in my opinion is one of the fucking best black metal records ever recorded. And it was a really, really great episode. It's available, I think, on pretty much the same platforms as Into the Necrosphere. If you don't check it out yet, definitely make sure that you do. I mean, all of Mike's podcasts are really good, but this one is particularly great. And he and I are also going to be doing, and I'm not sure which of these shows it'll go out on, but in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to record a movie talk episode where we go over my favorite film of all time, There Will Be Blood. So I'll keep you guys posted on when that drops as well. And then the other thing to say, just a reminder, if you've not seen it yet, the Teespring store is open. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see I'm styling and profiling in my Into the Necrosphere t-shirt. There is also a black metal as fuck Into the Necrosphere face mask, leggings for the ladies, hoodies in case you are averse to cold and therefore a fucking wimp. But if you jump on there, you can buy yourself some Into the Necrosphere gear. I've got some other designs lined up that I will drip feed throughout the following couple of months. But like I said, I'm never going to come to you begging for money, but whatever you do on there, whatever pittance I make on Teespring helps me to finance some much needed upgrades for the show, which hopefully translates to a better experience for you. On that bombshell, please welcome for the first time ever to the show, Kevin Sharp of Brutal Truth, a Lockup, and a Venomous Concept. No, I did say I'm not going to ask you anything that's too tedious, but I have to ask because it seems like
start off with that's going to spike your brain.
It's like the stock standard thing that you have to ask everybody that you do an interview with nowadays. How have you been surviving and thriving over the past couple of months with the whole world in upheaval?
I'm like everyone else, I'm super depressed and just kind of trying to take care of my family and documenting it with various recordings. And I'm like everyone else. There ain't nobody like our stories are all a little different, but everyone's got their own personal hell that they're going on. It's like my flavor's a little different. I'm what they call essential here, which means that I've been working throughout the whole thing. I never took a day off. I watched the city close around me, and it was very strange. So my perceptions of how things are going to be to my personal experience, and so it was very weird watching the city shut down, and it was like Mad Max,
Yeah.
driving around like, not one to touch anything, not one to, everything. It was super weird.
Yeah. Emptying wholesale gallons of hand sanitizer.
Yeah, well, there was that, and there was wear gloves, don't wear gloves.
Yeah.
Information, politicizing things. I've lost a lot of faith and trust in things. I don't believe in many things, or I don't, there's only so much you can warp the truth. Friendly fascism, so to speak,
Yeah.
with the politicians and such, I don't know how it's going on over there, but like they certainly, red or blue, do not care one way or another whether I live or die. They give you a fancy word, essential. It's supposed to make you feel better about risking your life for their fucking comfort.
And when you say essential, I hope you don't mind me asking, but what do you do outside of music?
I have a remodeling business. So by essential, it basically means that a lot of wealthy people are sitting at home working from home, and they're looking at their backyards or their this, that, or the others, and I don't like this bathroom. Rich people give the word essential to people that make their lives better, and it's their marketing ploy to make you feel comfortable about it. There's plenty of work out there during the pandemic. You just have to be willing to risk your life for it.
Yeah. And I guess, because I mean, I was not deemed essential, so I was part of the shutdown, and for a while, I think they've been slightly less draconian in the UK than they were in the States. You could go to shops, you could go buy groceries. They started relaxing things probably a lot sooner than they did in the States, and they've not been as reflexive as some cities that I've seen in the US. Where are you based out of?
I live in Atlanta, and I'm one of the 5 states that makes up 40% of the cases in the United States, and we just passed 5 million. So it's very hot here in terms of temperature and whatever's going on. People are tired. They grow tired of all the confinement and being told what to do, and they do the opposite like children. And you tell them not to wear masks or to wear masks, and they're not going to wear masks.
Yeah.
They become defiant, and they're going to go on holiday because they've been locked up for 3 or 4 months, and then they're going to go down to Florida. And Florida has like hundreds and hundreds of people that die a day, and they're going to bring it back to Kansas. A lot of where the virus is really hot right now in Georgia is like all these rural places where it was just a TV show a minute ago. See, all the cities are wise to what's going on and have been living in it and are clear with it. It's like the steady numbers of Atlanta have been the same for a long time, but it's all the other rural places where people didn't really buy into it that all of a sudden are getting caved in, and they don't have the medical in these small, like imagine, where are you at?
London.
London.
So on the outskirts of London, I should say, because in if I were in central London, it would be I'd probably be singing a very different tune, because I mean it was a clusterfuck of epic proportions there.
Milford Keynes or whatever it is, whatever that little.
Well, Milton Keynes is a bit is slightly to the north of London, if my geography isn't failing me. But yeah, I mean London itself was a fucking catastrophe, because they shoved people into the trains. I mean the trains are rammed at the best of times. And then they said, okay, well, all essential workers, you continue to come into London, and you can use public transport. But then they ended up cutting the number of trains that were running. So rather than have the same number of trains but less people, so therefore less overcrowding, they kind of stick them into this petri dish of disease, where if you're breathing directly in somebody's face, and when I say the trains are crowded, I mean you get to know people intimately when you're on the trains over here. So, but yeah, I mean, and that's it was like that all the time. It was literally like the peak of rush hour constantly. And I think in part that's what led to a lot of the spike in infection. Definitely London, because London was the worst hit in the UK by far.
Same thing happened in New York. That's why New York melted. Everyone was going. So, okay. So, for instance, Shane is from this. From the Shire or whatever. He's from the small little village called Broseley.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's those places that's gonna be destructive in your world, man, because those people, this is just shit on TV. And that those people are tired and they've been told to stay at home, and there's like 400 people that live in the town, and someone's going to go on holiday and go to the beach, and they're going to bring back a fucking bomb to their little shire. And that's what's going to happen to your world. It happened.
Well, I was about to say over here, as you know, there's not the best of weather here all the time, but you have like a 3-week heat wave, of which we're in it right now. But as soon as the sun shines, everybody's shirts are off, everybody's at the beach, or everybody's at the nearest river and in the nearest bar.
Back to the Shire, bro, and that's what's going to happen. And I'm telling you 100%, like from personal experience, watching this weave through America. They get tired of being told what to do. They want to go and pretend it doesn't exist. They're going to go, and let's face it, when I was a younger dude, we had HIV. At the time, it was called gay cancer.
Yeah.
But like, you're young, you have an erection, you need to go do something with it. You're going to go to bars. You're going to chat up girls. These are all normal things, but given the situation, they become spreaders.
Yeah.
It's like the pubs, large gatherings. This is how this spreads. And if you can avoid those, you're doing yourself a great service.
Yeah.
Even better,
And it becomes like life becomes like that. I think it was an Eddie Murphy Raw, where he talks about gambling with your dick, and he's like,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna.
The weird thing about AIDS when I was a kid was that, like, if I pulled out a condom on a girl, she'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm on the pill," and you'd be like, "Yeah, that's cool. You're on the pill."
I'm not immortal though, so yeah.
But it wasn't relatable like that. It's sort of like the mask thing, where people are just kind of like, "Well, fuck, man, it's cool. I'm not sick."
Yeah.
And if you pulled out a condom, like, girls would think you thought they were filthy whores, and it's not like that. And if you wear a mask, it doesn't mean you're a filthy whore. It means that you're just kind of being cautious and taking care of business. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
this world's, and I'm watching my daughter go through the same age I was doing the HIV, watching her go through this. It must be incredible being 14 years old and, you know, dealing with all the normal 14-year-old stuff, but also being thrown this fucking big pile of garbage, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you know, they've basically, my daughter is 6, but they've basically missed a whole academic school year. And
Well,
in some cases where they can go back, they're doing it over Zoom, or I know in South Africa, where I'm from originally, I've got friends whose kids go to school in shifts. So
yeah,
basically, like there's like a 2 till 5 shift, and there's like an 8 till 2 shift, and you know they go in like a staggered timetable.
yeah, I get that, but like over here, like they've politicized everything so hardcore that like the thinking is not of our children, and that's the problem. You know, there was a gal who took a picture from Paulding County, which is just north of the city, of the hallway, and it was a typical high school hallway, man. Everyone touching everybody, everyone moving to the next class, no one wearing masks, because the adults are forced to wear masks, but the children are given the option. Like, how is that even fucking? We're the adults. We're the ones that tell them. You know,
Yeah,
we're the ones that them and help them survive. So she took a picture of the hallway where everyone was like totally up on each other, walking around with no masks and stuff like that, and uploaded it on some kind of social media platform, and it went wild. And she got suspended because she took her phone out and took a picture. And we all know she got suspended because she outed the school as to not having their shit in order, right? And then it became such a huge thing that she got suspended that they reinstated her only to shut down the school because there was 10 positive cases right out of the gate.
yeah, yeah,
And it's like, it's a no fucking brainer, man. Like, keep the kids at school, because even if, say for instance, you get this shit and you're a young buck and you're strong and you're virile and you're 20 something years old and you get this and you don't have your symptoms, but it's a virus like any other, man. Like, you know, chicken pox becomes shingles, mono becomes Epstein-Barr. You know, I've had shingles twice, man. I don't want to know what the back end of this is. Nobody knows how it's going to reappear later on in life. I
mm.
know that people that there's hardcore cases where it doesn't go away, you know, where they're still, you know, brain fog and all these other kind of weird conditions that are coming up. Have you seen, you know what I speak of?
Yeah. Well, vaguely, I saw a video this morning, really, of Alyssa Milano showing what happened to her hair because of coronavirus, and it gets all fucked up. Um, but
No,
I mean, you know,
we're talking about people that have ongoing symptoms for like the last 4 or 5 months.
yeah,
Like, it never really went away. They have a term for those people, but so it responds and reacts differently to every person. You know, it's almost like it identifies with whatever kind of genetic code or blood type you are, and if you're in that area, it's going to fucking shit all over your day.
yeah, yeah,
It leaves you be, you know. So I'm not willing to take any chances. I'm in top health. You know, my wife isn't. She's got chronic illness, so I live in the basement, and you know, because I'm out doing outside things, and I can't really risk getting my wife sick because it would kill her.
yeah, yeah. I was about to
So
say, you look, you know, because the last interview I saw of you was recorded I think last year. It was with Metal Underground, but you're looking really good. You know,
well,
I mean, I don't know whether it was road fatigue or was just the angle of the camera, but you know, you're looking spry. I think is the word I'm looking for.
know, you know, like, because um, well, you know, I've been vegan for a while. I quit drinking about 4 or 5 years ago, but like when this all came down, I went super clean eating. I don't eat anything processed. I don't eat like carbs like bread and pasta and shit like that. I eat like beans, greens, vegetables, fruit. I don't eat sugar and things like that. I just cut out all the things and went super clean and tried to get like, and I take like a vitamin D3 supplement to help strengthen my immune system, because I'm out here, dude. I gotta protect myself and protect my health, you know. And it's like they're not telling you how to protect your health. They're just selling you fear and telling you to get on with making their lives comfortable, you know. I don't buy into a lot of the shit I've been told. Essential is quite possibly another word for disposable. Um, there's a class thing that's going on that nobody's addressing, that basically if you're essential, you're basically like worker ants out there, making the queen bee fucking comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on here. Is it like what I've been told is essential is fucking hardly essential, you know, in the heart of all that was fucking dark. And right 2 weeks after shutting down, I'm building stairs for some guy in his backyard that goes up a hill so he wanted to take up beekeeping while he was on quarantine, you know? So he had, you know, beehive mailed to him, and I made him some stairs up to his little bee temple. And, yeah.
the rest is filed under G14 classified.
Exactly. No, but
Yeah.
I mean, my is that like there was no shortage of landscapers or housekeeping or things that make people that with money comfortable. That's what's essential.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, essential healthcare workers and stuff like that. But outside of that, it's like the first thing that opened up here was like, you know, hair salons, uh, fucking massage parlors, things like that. Like the rich people had been locked up forever, man. They needed to get those kinks worked out, man.
Yeah. Whilst we're, or actually on the topic of kinks, politics versus the erection, who came up with the title? I'm going to make an pronouncement and say it sounds like a Shane title, but I best not assume.
I have to take it. I have to own that. I say things all the time. I talk really weird, and Shane just writes down things.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh God, that's a great name for whatever. Hold on, let me put it in the book." You know, but you know, the politics versus the erection is, you know, the way the marketing of politics has grown into social media, the memes, the bots, the way of programming people through social media, and like the lack of truth. It's all reeks of fascism to me. All the things they sell you on, the lies, the deceit. They lie, they lie, they lie. They say that the others lie more. Sounds like fascism, friendly fascism, right around the corner. You know, the erection is the politicians stimulating Joe Public, creating division amongst ourselves so they can get away with agendas that they're creating. It ceased to have anything to do, like currently they're going through this thing where they're doing a stimulus package. I don't know how you was over there. Shane didn't really apply for anything because Shane's small town guy who's got a little pride, you know. And but like the stimulus here was like, here's $1,200. Enjoy the next 6 months off, you know. And you know, there's people just fighting to figure out how to eat, let alone if you have like, say, diabetes or something like that, you're already at risk. And you know, and you don't have the money for insulin, you know. But you know, I don't know, man. These people, they're in office, and you know, they worked for a couple months, and then it was stressful, and they're back on vacation. We didn't come up with any kind of answer on this stimulus package. We're gonna go on vacation for 2 or 3 weeks, and we'll get back to you.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think they're supposed to have, if I'm not mistaken, are they supposed to have a big chunk of August off for the summer?
Dude, they're French most of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I say
yeah.
France, the whole country of France takes off August.
Yeah.
But no, they work literally something like 1 in 4 days. If you match it out over the business days of the week, Congress works like a little bit.
Yeah. The thing is, I follow American politics very, very closely just because I find it interesting generally. But the one thing that I've taken away from it probably as probably the most important thing, and the reason for things being in so much disarray is just the dysfunction of how the system actually works. I remember hearing Jesse Ventura on the Rogan podcast, and he was saying in the time that he was governor, he says you do maybe 3 to 6 months of actual work. The rest is all campaigning and all fundraising. He says that's it. He says, and when he realized it was that, he lost all interest in being in politics, because he said you can't actually get anything done because a big part of what you are there to do is to work towards getting reelected, and then the cycle just continues.
Yeah, and that's why you have term limits, man. And I'm not here to bash on Trump. He does a good job doing it himself, man. But he never stopped campaigning. He went from campaigning to winning the election to campaigning for the next election. And that's what he does. And he's completely at a loss. That's why he's acting like all fucking weird and saying randomly stupid things and stuff like that, is because he can't hold his rallies. He doesn't know what to do if he can't have a bunch of people fucking telling him he's great. It's like, how do I do that? Well, let me try and turn this coronavirus briefing into like Joe Biden is the enemy. I got to tell you, man, like everyone's so comfortable with the status quo. I look, we talk about it over here. It's like, oh my God, like out of the billions and billions of people on planet Earth, or just say for specifically, out of the millions of people in America, and millions, I will say, that are incredibly brilliant, right? This is our choice between these two. How the fuck is that possible?
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I mean, what are your thoughts on Biden? Because from everything that I've seen, I mean, I think anyone who votes for him is voting for his VP nomination. There's no fucking way that guy's seeing out 4 years.
That's why it's been so covert. Yeah. Is it like, it's got to be it's got to be the golden child, because let's face it, fucking Trump is like 10 minutes away from a fast food heart attack. And, Biden is like, 10 minutes away from drinking tapioca pudding in an old age home.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm willing to vote for anyone that's going to live for the next 4 years. I'll start there.
I was about to say that's where it's gotten to now. The criteria is, okay, who can survive for 4 years?
Physically going to be able to make it the 4 years.
Yeah.
We'll start.
Yeah.
And then you complete sentences, because the current one can't.
Yeah.
And Biden can't. And the thing is that like, he is of that old world. We are in a world now where the media is social media, and the media is all lies and farces, and everything's on the internet, and everything things that matter, like your digital footprint, your data, who you are, what you're looking for, is being sold to Facebook and this, that, and the other. These are real modern issues that will translate in 10 years from now and create shitstorms that we can't imagine.
Well, I was just about to say, I mean, your digital footprint is not only sold at a profit, but it is also used to punish you if you do or say anything that that people don't like.
And let's just get back to the virus and how they're going to track you through it. This phone that we're talking on right now, you know, they're going to want to know who's in my truck, you know, and they're tracking information and they're selling information. And these are things that matter. Yet, you know, there's this whole comfort level of let's get Biden in there, man. He's a familiar face to rural America and blah, blah, blah. Well, rural America is not aware of future problems coming. If you live in London or New York or something like that, you're well aware of how, like, your identity and how certain things are even aware of, like, how the class war that is happening currently with the virus, the people that have and the people that are out risking their lives to make the haves happier. You know, these are all things that, like, you need future thinking in office, not like some guy who's trying to remember what's on the cue cards.
Yeah. The thing is, though, I don't think that the political establishment, it wouldn't be in their interest to do anything about the issues that you've just mentioned. And I've been thinking about this recently in terms of kind of the divisiveness in society. And I think politics by design there's always been division in politics because some people believe in, you know, a certain way of doing things. Some people believe in another. When you have division, you do create, you know, a possible conflict situation. But, you know, for a fairly lengthy period of time, we've kind of always been able to have conversations, and you'd have people that are maybe more conservative leaning talking to people that are more liberal leaning, and they can laugh at each other's differences and get on with each other. Then you had social media thrown into the mix, and I think you absolutely nailed it. Media became social media because basically the way that you know, the mainstream media works now, the mainstream news media works with, you know, the clickbait headlines and the fucking sensationalism and all that bullshit. It's just like pouring gallons and gallons of lighter fluid on a combustible situation and making it, you know, infinitely worse than it ought to be. Like my view has always been, if you sit two people down face to face who are completely different, you take personalities and you know, and all the branding out of the conversation, and you say, okay, what do you think about issue X? What do you think about issue Y? Generally speaking, they're going to find they have a lot more in common with each other than they don't.
Well, if you encourage that thinking, and the way our country was set up in the beginning, you know, the forefathers actually warned of this two-party system would create this. Actually, you know, the first president, Washington, was not of a party, but on the way out, he was like, this two-party thing, it's only going to go bad at some point, you know, because of the division. And it's easier when you don't have a platform to work to sell that the other guy is more dangerous than the other and create some kind of verbiage. And that whole thing is marketed through social media because there is something online somewhere that will justify someone's thinking, no matter how wild or irrational the earth is flat.
Yeah.
There's always something out there. So all you have to do is encourage it. I mean, and I could look at Putin and just say that he's probably laughing his ass off because it's too easy, you know?
I mean, he has said as much in interviews. I saw an interview with him probably about 6 months ago, and he basically said the West are idiots. They listen and believe everything, or listen to and believe everything that's on social media, and they keep themselves occupied with nonsense, and that's why they're so easily fooled and easily misled.
I've never heard a more appropriate keep themselves occupied with nonsense.
Yeah.
I Facebook because I can't deal with it, man. It's just like stupidity Olympics. I don't want to hear some fucking shitty, like, the more ridiculous the meme is, the more people want to believe it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I don't. As a concept, social media, it wasn't the worst thing on earth. And if I sit here and bash it, I'm going to be hypocritical because I do use it. I mean, I'm not running around spreading my every political thought on that. I have family that live overseas, so it's easier for me to stay in touch with friends and family abroad than it would be otherwise, and I also use it for the show. But I think one of the biggest failings of social media has been, in terms of failing the society, has been that in the old days, you used to need to have some credentials before people took your opinion seriously. And now every fucking imbecile with a Twitter account or with a Facebook account can analyze everything from, high global finance to geopolitics to, mass viral pandemics. And all of a sudden it's like we have to take their opinion seriously.
Yeah. It's like, guess what, man? You know what? I'm going to take my buddy Bill's wife, who is a science nerd, who was in Africa for years on Ebola. I'm going to take her opinion over yours on this virus. How about that? You know what I mean? You barely made it out of high school. You're telling me that you're a fucking infectious disease specialist or a political science major? Fuck you, man. You're fucking killing me, man. There's nothing wrong. Not that I'm just an ordinary bangoon, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, man. That body doesn't have to be so politically motivated that like, it's like almost like people are looking to justify goodness in them by jumping on whatever kind of platform that's been being presented by their team.
Yeah.
And like for instance, you could say that the Black Lives Matter thing was fueled by the Democratic Party, or you could say the antithesis of it with the Republicans and this, that, and the other. And it's just like easy marketing tools to sell. I haven't seen one political ad, blue or red, that says this is what I'm going to do to make the virus go away. It's all the other guy, a total idiot, man.
Well, it's as soon as marketing companies and PR companies became part of political campaigning, everything went to shit. When they needed a PR company to run test messages for the Iraq war, that's when the real downhill plunge began.
Music, war's got to have a marketing look to it, man. You got to have the theme music, wag the dog, you got to sell it to the public. They learned that in Vietnam. It was not unpopular because they didn't have the campaign for it, And I hate the music that they came up with for the virus. It's a really crappy jingle,
I want to pivot for a second because I'm actually in the process of doing a top 50 death and grind countdown series on the show, and obviously Brutal Truth is on there, Napalm Death is on there.
Oh, sure.
I was keen to find out from you when you met Shane, because I know you guys are really close, and obviously you guys have done some really incredible stuff together.
Yeah, I met Shane in '89, and technically in Nottingham. They were doing the campaign tour, or not the campaign tour. This was before all that shit. Sorry, I'm a vegetable. They were doing the Grind Crusher tour with Napalm, Carcass, Morbid Angel, and Bolt Thrower, I think. Yeah. And they were playing Rock City. That's when I technically met him there. And a couple weeks later, he came over. They played their first show in New York at CB's. And that was a real treat watching the Mongoose.
I was about to say, he still had at that time, he still had more of a fro than a Jew fro than he had the Shane hair.
Well, there was the Badger and the Mongoose, and the Badger was Shane, and the Mongoose was Mick, and Mick nearly thrashed CBGBs because they were on at 3 a.m. and couldn't deal with it. Anyway, so yeah, we met back in the '80s when we were kids, and everything was young and interesting. We did our first tour with Napalm in '92.
And what was it about him that made you guys kind of hit it off? Because you've also been friends ever since.
We just all had the same likes, movies and music, and you also have to remember that I did a ton of tape trading with especially with Mick. That's how we learned how to about music and stuff. The Swans and we were tape trading all sorts of stuff. Young Gods, this, that, and the other. Kevin from Pathological, all those other, there was a few handful of people that really expanded music, and it was all really amazing times. It's really funny that you mentioned the social media aspect of it, because it had all the good intentions of unifying, but it became very destructive and quite the opposite. I actually would give anything for MySpace to come back. Whatever, man. We trolled music. We didn't troll politics and all this kind of stupid shit.
Yeah.
And there wasn't this ridicule from your mom's basement, where you this fucking, I don't know what's worse, the educator or the troll. What's your fucking least likely candidate online right now?
The educator, without a shadow of a doubt. But I mean, I agree with you about MySpace. It was if a band posts a song, no one immediately went on there and started screaming you're a fucking asshole if you like this song.
Exactly. They were like, that's kind of cool. You might like this other band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And somewhere along the lines, it got distorted. And that's the disappointing thing to me, because that was an acceptable form of music for me. MySpace was wow, this is digital tape trading. I'm into this. I back this 100%.
Well, the tape trading scene itself, it's crazy to think how much, because I did that myself when I was growing up, and it's crazy to think how many really long-lasting friendships were built around that. How many bands got started purely through tape trading. I mean, I can't remember, can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but I'm fairly confident a big chunk of particularly that early 90s boom as far as death metal and maybe even black metal is concerned came about because people were trading music.
And also, if you think about it, a lot of those dudes are still around, dudes and girls, whatever. A lot of those people are still around because they were passionate about it. You would put flyers in your mail, and you would, this is what's going on locally here, and this is cool, and this is how we do it here, and you would get video to, Mick would send me videotapes of Japanese hardcore bands that like were impossible to find, you know, and I guess it's if you're that passionate that you running out the mailbox every day or run into the record store on Tuesdays for the new releases, that it builds a different level of passion. Now I'm going to be held accountable for being like this cranky old man who's fucking, it was better back in the days we tape traded. You don't know what you're talking about. But I will tell you, you know, because when Loker tapped out a few years back, and it was basically in this semi-weird retire, I don't really even understand it, but some kind of weird semi-retirement thing. Like all of us that are still sitting around doing it are like, what is that? What is it, retiring? I don't know what that is. Are we supposed to think like that? Are we supposed to retire at some point? I'm confused, you know? And I was having this conversation with Bill Steer one time about it. And he was like, I don't understand what Danny's thinking. And I'm like, I don't either, man. I mean, like, you know, I know he doesn't like being in planes, and he doesn't like, you know, sitting still for too long. He's very antsy and stuff. So it's hard for him to tour. Same with Barker. You know, it's very hard for Barker to sit in he can't sleep in a bunk because he's too big, you know, and it's very, very uncomfortable and difficult for Barker to tour. But, you know, Bill was just like, he was like, you know, when I was first doing Napalm and Carcass and stuff like that, I was just like, you know, this is cool. I'm going to do a couple records, and I might even do like a tour of like Europe. And then, you know, I'll settle down in my little shire or whatever the fuck I live, and you know, get a job like everyone else. And at a certain point, you just realize that that's who you are.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, man, I did that in my 30s. I tried to be quote unquote normal. I tried to get a normal job and do a normal life. And I don't know, man. And, you know, I did an interview just a minute ago where the guy was like trying to get me to define punk. And I was like, I think punk just comes from inside you, man. It's not like music, not like a uniform. It's not like a haircut. It's like what comes out of your heart and your commitment to like what you believe. That's punk.
Yeah.
That's why, like, when you talk to like all the New York hardcore dudes, man, it's like family to them, man. Like Jimmy G's like he's like a bro, you know.
Yeah. Well, did you see that? Did you see that Agnostic Front documentary that came out? I think it was a year ago.
No, but I've been meaning to. But
Really,
you know, like,
really good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certain it is. You know, like people make a lot of fun of Stigma, man, but he's a poet. Man.
I was just about to say he is as fucking true to himself and true to the scene as any human being I've ever come across in my life. I've met him once,
There will never be a dishonest word come out of his mouth. He will consistently, 100% of the time, tell you exactly what he thinks and what he feels, and he's 110% Mott Street, fucking Little Italy, Italian. He is Stigma.
Yeah. Yeah, no, without a doubt. He's an intense dude. He's got one of, aside from Phil Anselmo, the most intense handshake I've ever experienced in a human being. But yeah, he's a good guy. But the one thing, and I don't want to sound like I'm placating you or you know, actually I don't know whether placating is the right word, but I often talk to particularly with one friend of mine about this, about people staying relevant and people kind of being able to rise with the tide rather than running out of tricks. And I feel like you and Shane are great examples of that, but there's not many that can do that. Like I think from my observation, so Shane as a songwriter, I think is one of the most underrated songwriters in any genre of music. And I think the day he finally hangs it up, I think a lot of people are going to go, fuck man, we've really lost something now.
Well, he's not going to hang it up, dude.
No. I mean, that's, I think that's in,
you're going to have to take the music out of his cold, dead hands.
Yeah. But I mean, from your perspective as well, I think some of your best work has been, and I've been listening to you all the way back to Extreme Conditions. But I feel like some of your best work has been on the Lockup album and on the last two Venomous Concept records. Like, and I guess my question is, where do you still continue to find the inspiration and the motivation from to, I guess, not just go in and do it, but go in and do it to at the level that you're doing it at?
Well, I mean, I guess to a certain degree, like, when you get older, and when I mean older, like when you get in your 50s, if you're going to do this, you don't want to be the guy that is gasping
That's
on.
the guy in his 50s.
You don't want to be that guy who's in your 50s. You want to, so, I mean, like I said, I take better care of myself nowadays. I quit drinking and I eat better and that sort of thing. But in terms of content, like the world just gets dicier and life's experiences become more from it. It's like I always say, I have these conversations with a few people that I would say that are in the know of, like, this, that, and the other, like Simon Effemy, who did like the Paradise Lost stuff, and he's a producer. He also mixes he's a dear friend, but we always had these debates on the songs, and he's always like, it's the melody. And I'm like, it's the lyric, it's the story, man. And it's like when all actuality becomes a debate of it, the story drives the melody, but he'll say it's the other way. The melody drives the story. But inevitably, music, real, like, good music comes from experiences. You can sit there with your, like, a lot of political type music and stuff like that. A bunch of dudes sitting around with their thesauruses fitting in words and trying to this, that, and the other. Same thing can be held for like gore grind and stuff like that, where they're just trying to. But the song, the has to have a story and an experience behind it. Lockup record in particular, like I was critically melting down at the time. I was having a complete and utter mental breakdown, and
I was about to say, I kind of put two and two together, and you would have been recording that Lockup album around about the time that you were stopping drinking.
Yes. There's a song on there called Sunk, which was just like, I made a conscious choice. I was either going to drink it down and finish it up, or I was going to stop and kind of get my world in order. And I'm still working on getting my world in order, by the way, but I did stop drinking, and I was able to grapple the things that happen the older you get. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
40.
Okay, so when you start getting into your 50s and you start saying goodbye to your parents, and I don't know. When I was younger, I had no preconceived ideas of like what aging was. I never even imagined me at 50 something. Now that I'm here, I'm completely confused. But I thought that somewhere in my mind, I thought if I did make it to my 50s, that life would be easier and you would be settling into, and it just seems more complicated. But
more complicated, but with the added stress of thinking. I mean, and I can relate, because I mean, even at 40, I constantly think, okay, it's just like you've got like 20, 25 years, and you're 65, and it's, it sounds like such a short period of time. Even though, getting to be 25 felt like it took ages, but yeah, you think in the grand scheme of things, 25 years.
Those wheels turn faster the older you get. I hate to disappoint you, but by the time you're my age, you're just, fuck, man. And wait until your dad dies, when your father passes, and you look at his age and how old he was when he had you. And you start putting timelines and hourglasses in your fucking world, and you're like, oh my God. That's why me and Shane are just like, we can't fucking record enough right now, man. It's just like there's I don't have time anymore for multiple years on records.
I was about to say, to wait 8 years between albums.
I don't have that time. Currently, just finished a Lockup EP, and almost finished with my stuff on the LP. Shane and John just finished the Venomous Concept next record. All the basics are done, and we're trying to figure out how I can get over to England in some capacity to go over there and record it, because it's a little different. And I'd like Simon to handle the vocals, because I want to try something different. And then on top of that, they've already demoed another space rock record or something like that, and we got plans for electronic noise record as well. So it's like right now offhand, I got 5 or 6 records that I'm working on currently, and one's coming out right now. So I think that in terms of material, there's a lot of shit going on. All you have to do is put a pen to paper and figure it out,
Yeah.
But I guess the older you get, I'm less interested in the speculation of what I should be recording, and more in tune with writing what I want to leave.
Yeah. That again, so it's interesting that you mentioned all of the things going on in your life when that Lockup album was done, because it kind of, I mean, and from my perspective, I personally think, and as I said, I've been following your career for a very long time. I thought that was the best vocal performance you've ever done, hands down. I think if
You're going to get a lot of the. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if I had to pinpoint it to a specific song, I'd say I'd reference The Plague That Stalks the Darkness. I think everything that you do on there from start to finish is flawless.
Well, thanks. But, I come up to a lot of things. A lot of people were wanting it to sound like Extreme Conditions and things like that. And I never really, when I write music or vocals, or I have in mind what I want to project out of my mouth and how it will accent, because it's always, to me, vocals are always about riding the leading force of the song, which would be the riff or the rhythm, the beat. And when it comes to, I don't want it to just be this one particular pattern that sits on top of the music that doesn't really, it becomes non-effective. We did stuff in Extreme Conditions. It was effective at the time, but you have to go beyond that and try different things. And what I hear when I hear the riff is, so a lot of people were like, oh, where is the deeper tones in your voice and blah, 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 blah. And it's really ironic, because a lot of the new Lockup stuff is like from the vault, you know what I mean? Like Anton reached back in the fucking 1982 ghetto box with the 20 D-volt batteries and fucking pulled out some old school metal riffs, and I found myself naturally going into a deeper tone and doing different things in that world and stuff like that. I sort of hear what I hear, and if anything, it's just an honest intent when I go in and track. I wanted to do something different. Shane and I were both like trying to like do something different in Death Grind, like do something that was a little bit different than just like what you were normal to her. And it was really funny that you mentioned it, because like, it was me, Shane, and Russ Russell when we were over in Kettering tracking that record. And we just went in, we had some lyrics written, and we just went in and we would just rough it out, see what sounded good and stuff like that. And fucking Shane would go in for a piss or something like that, and he'd come back out, and I could just see his eyes go like, oh, I wasn't really expecting that to come out of your mouth, but that's cool. But it was for me, it was a really awesome session, because we're all like really good bros, like Russ. I've known Russ since he did Live Sound, so we're all really good friends, and friends for many years and stuff like that. So it was like really intensive session, like I'm like one of those vocalists who can sit in for hours and hours and hours. I don't give out. You know, the voice is always going to be on point. I just kind of balance it out with water and warm fluid and make sure I'm really hydrated. We did like one day, it was 13 hours of tracking.
Jesus. I was going to say, like, you know, did cutting the booze out and changing your diet and stuff like that, has that affected your voice, or at least the maintenance of your voice?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. There was a bit of a curve, like when I quit drinking, because I drank a little.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a curve where my vocal cords were like, where's the alcohol that's allowing the car accident to happen flawlessly, you know?
Yeah.
And there was a minute where it was, you know, I was redirecting how I did things, you know? Yeah, but it's not a lot of people really understand like how these things affect your voice, whether you smoke cigarettes or I remember when I quit smoking cigarettes when I was a kid, there was a bit of an adapting thing with my voice where I had to kind of like, no, do this. I never really blew my throat out like that. That looks terrifying when I see I remember we did a tour one time with Fear Factory, and the first night, Bert, the singer of that band, came into sound check and he blew his voice out immediately, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
You know, he had an eggshell for vocal cords, you know, and you know, some people are inclined to it. I guess I'm one of those people. You know, I can do many different voices, and I guess you'll see in the next couple records that, you know, like I said, with the new Lockup stuff, there's some really deep tones in there, but the lyrics are really good, man. The lyrics are there. All you have to do is open your eyes and listen, and everywhere you see and everywhere you hear, there's a story to be told.
Yeah.
So we're not at a shortage of material. If it's one thing, you know, everyone says, well, at least there'll be some great music that comes out. Yeah, I guess so, though, because like all these musicians are stuck at home and they have nothing but their mind. They're all at war with their minds right now, you know, and that's going to translate in what they do on tape, so to speak.
Yeah. I want to ask you one more question, and then I'm going to let you go. And it is again purely in the spirit of nostalgia, but you know, from those early days of you know, Extreme Conditions coming out, you know, the scene being what it was. What's your favorite memory that is permissible to share publicly of the early days?
Oh my God, you know, I mean, first of all, not much of it's actually really
fit for public consumption.
Knowledge, but I would say that, you know, it's, you know, it's all relative towards your world, man. You know, like I think that your 20s, what was magical then, you know? You're becoming yourself. You're out on your own. You're excited about what life might be. And that's the thing that's really tough to like look at when you're involved with something that, like music or something like that has such a definitive stamp, you know, a bookmark in time, you know. But it's hard to debate what was just pure childhood and what was something magical. In the last interview, someone mentioned something about CBGBs, and it was just like, you know, I lived 3 blocks away from CB's, so you know, I was there 4 or 5 nights a week. I saw a lot of things, you know. And I was young. I didn't appreciate what was in front of me, and now that it's not there and would it seemingly, because I could be old and bitter and say that kind of magic won't happen again. But, you could also look at the half empty, half full glass and choose to be half full with the virus. And hopefully on the back end, if there's not gigs like what we all are familiar with and stuff like that, that maybe, just maybe, it's an opportunity for music to be presented a little different and maybe be in favor of, musicians and less in terms of people living off of musicians. It's an opportunity. You can sit there and say the world's over, the sky fell, shit like that, whatever. Or you could just say it's an acceptable time to hit a reset button in life and do something different with it. If you're unhappy in your work and what you do, now is the time to make a change in it.
Yeah.
All is forgiven. All is forgiven. Just get up and reinvent yourself. Reinvent what things could be or how you perceive your life to go. Or you could sit there and fucking cry and jump off the bridge, which there's a bridge down the street from my house, which is a popular place to finish up these days.
I was about to say to end it all. Well,
No, seriously, there is a bridge that like literally I've seen like maybe 4 or 5 people try and commit suicide off of it in the last 6 months. So I don't choose to. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm horribly depressed. I have waves of depression that make it hard to like get up and move. I'm no different than anyone else. I'm certain that you've had days when you woke up and you were like, really, dude, why the fuck did I wake up?
Yeah.
That's just being honest, man.
No.
And if I'm completely honest, we're all the same. We have all the same fears and doubts and scares and concerns and hopes and desires and shit like that. If people can focus on these kind of things and less more on the division that these fucking political goons have sold us, then maybe we can evolve as people and become better.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think it's also worth thinking frequently about the fact that life is finite. I often think that a lot of the people that are carrying on most hysterically on social media, or the people that are running around waving the torches at everyone moralistically, are people that never stop and think that in the grand scheme of things, your life is not going to mean an awful lot. And also, you don't know when life is going to end. Spend your time doing things that are positive and productive for you, and positive and productive for the people around you, rather than going on these massive crusades that just lead to more misery and more arguing, more negative shit. It's not worth it, because in the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything.
It's like when I quit drinking, man, and I realized how much time was in the day.
Yeah.
And then when I quit like Facebook, I realized how much time was wasted reading and commenting on shit that really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's worse than like sitcom TV, man. It's just such an incredible, for me personally, and if you fucking get some kind of significance out of it, fucking great then. But like, for me personally, I sat back after the sense of taste and smell came back, I realized that like, that was just the most ridiculous waste of time in such a short time span that you have on planet Earth.
Yeah.
It's just like there has got to be numerous things better to do in life than to sit around and bitch and moan and crack and fucking be negative and shitty and feed off of each other's brutality and just become an asshole.
Yeah.
There's got to be better things in life than that. And I'm completely tolerant towards people's thinking. And they're not going to come to your side of thinking by you calling them a fucking idiot.
Yeah. I agree.
It doesn't accomplish anything.
other than just wasted air out of your mouth or a cramp in your hand.
Yeah.
I do a little bit of Instagram, but I just post goofy pictures like the other day of me and Brujo, whatever. You know, it's like, I'm not there to tell you what to think. I'm not there to tell you what to think on my record. I'm telling you what I think. You can interpret it however you want, but everybody's entitled to have their opinion in their own life. And unfortunately, social media trains you to be a fucking good little message for team whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dude, I hugely appreciate the time. As I said to you before we started recording, I had a poster of you up on my wall, straight out of Metal Maniacs, wearing the Stetson with the two mics. The 16-year-old me has had a fucking great time, as has the 40-year-old me. So, hope all's well with you. Hope you stay healthy, and hope at some point I get to see you on the mean streets of London.
Yeah, I can't wait to 13 years from now when you're 53 and we can talk about being fucking like really old.
I'll be like, Kevin was right. Well, hopefully we can sit down and I'm not a vegan, but we can break bread together somehow.
Hopefully it'll still be music. I mean, I don't have anything better to do other than tell stories and spend time with the friends, people I love, And in a touring situation like that, if I'm out on the road, you'll find me out at the merch booth. I guarantee you ask anyone who goes to the shows, they'll say that they've had some kind of stupid conversation with me at the merch booth. So that's my form of punk is being around my people.
Awesome. Cool. All right, dude. Thank you so much. All the best. And like I said, hopefully at some point down the road, we're going to speak again.
Take care, brother.
You too. I wanna fight it. I wanna fight it. Simeon Flew by A Venomous Concept off of the new record Politics Versus The Erection. It is available right now, or as a matter of fact, it will be available as of the 28th of August on Season of Mist, which potentially is right now, depending on when you listen to this. But I want to say thank you once again to Kevin for coming on the show. I left the conversation feeling extremely inspired, and really I was surprised at how honest, how sincere, and just what a decent guy he was. I hope you guys really enjoyed that too. I also want to say thank you very much to Katie Irizarry, the beautiful and bodacious Katie Irizarry of Season of Mist, ever the consummate professional, for getting that interview set up for me, and hopefully we'll have her back on the show again at some point soon as well. But do check out that Venomous Concept record. Another record you need to check out is the new Krallice. Now, I will be completely upfront and honest. Krallice is one of those bands that I had just never could quite get. They were a band that I saw repeatedly get rave reviews from everybody, including friends of mine, on various websites. I think the first of their records that I gave a try was Dimensional Bleed Through, that came out back in 2009. I think in hindsight, maybe I should have spent a bit more time with it, but regardless, I was never in the Krallice camp, but that has changed with the release of Mass Cathexis. And it is, in my opinion, the album that, if this is not going to make you a Krallice fan, then you're never going to be a Krallice fan. For me, what I love about this album is it brings together every single thing about this band in a way that is more synergetic and seems more coherent than anything they've ever done before. And if you don't know what Krallice sounds like, imagine hyper-technical, progressive, heavy music, a little in the vein of Atheist, who I mentioned at the top of the show, mixed with the grimness and the cult trueness of a band like Burzum. And it's something that they've done, or they followed that approach on more or less all of their records. But I think on this album, like I said, it's where everything really comes together and really works as a whole. And what that translates to is that every single song on the album is not only superbly performed, because as much as everything is working together now, they've not dialed back on the technicality at all. So every single instrumental performance is absolutely spectacular. But the songs sound so full and sound so kind of self-contained, cohesive. Every single song kind of has its own identity. So it's like many of those great records that you might maybe grew up with, or that you've heard recently. Whenever I think of a great record where every song had its own identity, I think of something like Master of Puppets. And for me, this album really has that nailed down. Every single song, it sounds interesting and unique. Every single song is impeccably well performed, and the sequencing of the album is absolutely perfect. The production is great. Like I said, the performances are absolutely top notch. In particularly the bass performance from Nicholas McMaster, and also the drumming that Lev Weinstein does. So they have turned me into a believer without a shadow of a doubt. And I would say this record is probably going to be vying for a spot on my illustrious top 20 of 2020. But I'll let you guys decide what you think of it. This is the first track off of Mass Cathexis. It is a song called, and I have to say, fucking great title as well, Feed on the Blood of Rats. just listened to Feed on the Blood of Rats by Krallice off of their new record, Mass Cathexis. And as per usual, I will post the link to their Bandcamp in the description of this podcast. Check it out. And if you buy merchandise or if you buy some music, let them know that Into the Necrosphere sent you. And thank you very, very much to Scott Bamford for doing so when he bought some Panzerfaust stuff recently. Eisenwald, who are their record label, actually got in touch with me. So hopefully the long anticipated Panzerfaust interview will finally happen, and it is thanks to the tireless efforts of a die-hard Into the Necrosphere fan. So I really appreciate that, and it's proof that if you want somebody on the show and you let people know that you're hearing their music on the podcast, then hopefully their record label will pay attention. Time now for some news. And the first headline showing up on Metal Storm today, Nova Ruptor second studio album detailed. I was not really familiar with Nova Ruptor, nor was I familiar with the Moth Gatherer, but I did check this out actually before I started recording this segment, and it's not bad. So this is Nova Ruptor's second record. It's going to be called Marine Snow. The album art looks decidedly non-black metal, but I guess that it kind of falls in that Death Heaven vibe of we want to sound black metal but not look black metal. But either way, I did listen to this and it's not bad at all. It's billed as sludgy, blackened doom. Which I think is about right. It's actually fairly mellow from what I heard, with a couple of heavier bits in. But if you like that kind of vibe, then I don't see why you wouldn't want to give it a go. The Projectionists drop new track and lyric video. This I listened to as well, and I didn't like it. The vocals sound absolutely fucking horrific. And the track is called The Butterbox Babies, which I don't know if that's supposed to be scary, but it sounds like a brand of fucking chocolates that's just come out. I'm going to go to the movies and buy myself a popcorn, a Diet Coke, and some Butterbox Babies. Speaking of Canadian musicians who I don't care for much anymore, Devin Townsend. I've said this before. I used to be the biggest, and when I say the biggest, I like obsessively massive Devin Townsend fan. Back when Strapping Young Lad had come out and Ocean Machine came out, but this happy heavy business that he's kind of really made his stock and trade over the last couple of years. It's just not for me. I fucking hate everything. I don't think happiness belongs in heavy music whatsoever. And I think he's a nice guy. I like the YouTube podcast episodes that he was doing. I don't know whether he's still doing it, where he was talking about the old records, but his new music just doesn't do it for me. I like that country album that he did, but that's literally about it. Benighted stream new single, part of a fundraiser campaign. So it says here that French slammers Benighted are releasing a brand new track and video as part of a fundraiser campaign. Serve to Deserve is now available to purchase on the band's special Bandcamp page. Apparently Benighted are trying to raise money and awareness for the Rock and Eat venue located in Lyon. So sad to see so many venues fall foul of this fucking COVID-19 horse shit. And obviously you would have heard Kevin and I talk about it quite a lot, in terms of the impact on people generally. But yeah, man, if you are a venue owner, if you're a promoter and you've fallen on hard times, for what it's worth, I am rooting for you, and I'm pretty sure that everybody who listens to the show is doing the same. I just really look forward to the day when we can put this fucking crap behind us, and we can get back to life as normal. Because a lot of people have gotten really hurt by this through absolutely no fault of their own. The Cult in studio working on new songs. I'm pretty surprised that Metal Storm would even have run that. But I will say this: I think the song is called "Here Comes the Rain." My daughter is really into like new wave stuff, so she loves Susie and the Banshees. She loves Sisters of Mercy, and I kind of in trying to find stuff to play her, I stumbled back onto the Cult, and there are some old Cult tracks that are fucking brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So they're kind of, again, one of those bands where I don't really pay much attention to what they do, but whenever something does come out and I hear of it, I'm always interested in hearing what it sounds like. Hellripper reveal new song. Hellripper's new track called Vampire's Grave is out and available for streaming. Very surprised Peaceful Records signed this, but then again, Peaceful Records aren't exactly the most prolific, and nor are they at the forefront of anything particularly good at the moment. But yeah, this sounds an awful lot like Motorhead gone black metal, and I know that the first thing that might come to mind for folks is Impaled Nazarene when I say that. But you know, Impaled Nazarene is like Motorhead on crystal meth gone black metal. This is the guys are clearly not on crystal meth. But I listened to the track Vampire's Grave, and it's not bad. But yeah, again, it's interesting to see what's happened to a lot of labels that, you know, used to be at the very forefront of everything great coming out. Earache being one of them, Peaceful Records being another, Roadrunner being another. I don't really think anything those guys put out anymore can compare with stuff that Deborah Morty do, Season of Mist, Eisenwald Van Records, Apocalyptic Witchcraft, you know, and again, it's probably down to personal taste, but I feel like the tip of the spear as far as fucking great new music in metal is concerned, you know, is coming from the labels that I mentioned. It's not coming from the old guard, and I don't know whether the old guard lost touch, or you know, whether the folks that are in those labels just don't really listen to metal anymore. But there's also a whole bunch of bands going unsigned who, you know, I just can't get my head around how labels haven't picked them up yet. You know, Master's Call is an example. Stellar Master Elite is another example. Like, if I had a label, those would be two of the first bands that I sign. Let us see what else there is to chew on as far as the news is concerned. It's pretty quiet news-wise, and it's also pretty quiet new release-wise. I checked out again everything that was out on this past Friday, and aside from Krallice, there's really been nothing that has excited me in any way, shape, or form, which is kind of why doing the top 50 death metal list right now it's kind of the right time to do it now, because, you know, there's not as many good releases, so there's not as many people I'm interested in talking to, and, you know, we may as well look back on the great things that have been. Speaking of things that weren't great, and a band that definitely don't appear on the death metal list, In Flames share lyric video for re-recorded version of Bullet Ride. Yay! Fucking hell, that band sucks. I cannot tell you guys how much I detest that band. And when I say detest, I mean everything they've done. Everything from the fucking first record all the way through Jester Race, which everyone was fucking, you know, oogling over when it came out. I was the first person in my neck of the woods to order that CD. I had it for all of a day, and I sold it immediately. I can't stand it. Let's see. Oh, the Infernal Sea debut Befallen Order track and lyric video. I'm going to have the Infernal Sea on the show. Make sure that you listen to this new track. Make sure you listen to the track that came off of that they released off the album previously about 2-3 months ago as well. This is going to be fucking hard. I know I've just been talking about how there's nothing coming out, but September the 18th, Negotium Crucis is going to be the new Infernal Sea record. It's going to be fucking badass. Make sure you check it out. And that track is awesome as well. But yeah, I will have Infernal Sea on probably in the next, I'll try to make it in the next 4 or 5 weeks. Oh, yay. Machine Head have got a new song out. This one's called Bulletproof. I bet it's about all of Rob's haters. He's like, yeah, man, you guys might hate my shit, but I'm bulletproof, yo. Let's hear it. I expect the worst, but the good thing is, like I said, there's lyrics for it too, so we'll get to hear what he's singing about. Right, that's my initial impression. Both of the video, he's Should I call it Krallice cashing in on the current zeitgeist? But then again, we know, Rob is he's always been very very politically aware. But anyway, let's hear the rest.
America, tearing at the seams, the tension is rising, corruption and greed, hysteria, inequality, the rich man with power, the poor left to bleed, bleeding, and we're dead, driven to our knees, the beatings, the chokings, the violent decree.
What a fucking pile of wank. With lyrics that sound like something that a fifth grader would write and then think that it's very deep. I bet that maybe that is a fifth grade poem that he wrote, and he walked up to his teacher and she patted him on the head and, well done, Rob. And he went, yay, I'm finished with school, and dropped out. Let's move on. Death Angel working on a new album. Death Angel drummer Will Carroll revealed in a recent interview with Rock's Immortal Rock Talk Happy Hour that he and guitarist Rob Cavastani have been working on new material for the follow-up to 2019's Humanicide record. I'd like to hear that. I would love to have Will Carroll on the show so that I can talk to him about the hallucinations that he had while he was suffering from the Rona. I don't know whether you guys followed that at all, but he was saying that he saw the devil and that he was in hell. And then he walked it back a bit when people started going, this guy's loco. But I think the damage was done. Amazing. Corey Taylor releases music video for Black Eyes Blue. I'm sure that'll be amazing. Just as good as CMFT was. By the way, I'm going to be very honest. I've now tried a couple of times to scam my way onto the news list on on Blabbermouth. Once with Alex from Ruins of Everest announcing that on the show, basically, which no one had, he'd never said anywhere before, that there was a Ruins of Everest record recorded, and then once with my Ghoul interview, and Bori keeps ignoring me, which suggests to me the only way that he puts anything, his criteria now for putting anything on Blabbermouth is, unless you're in some feud with somebody in a glam rock band, or you're calling up to say how much you hate Trump, it doesn't get any space on the website. And this is probably what I'm going to end off with, because I just thought this was fucking brilliant. Motley Crue's Nikki Sixx says relocating to Wyoming has been great for his creativity. He also said about a week or so ago that he's the most underrated bassist in the world. So I can only imagine this would have been another one of those late night calls to Bori, and it'd be, phone rings. Nikki's going, "Hey Bori, it's Nikki from Motley Crue. I just want to let you know two things. One, fuck Trump. And two, I'm actually the most underrated bassist in the whole world. Thought you should know that, yo. Bye." I've often kind of thought to myself, why is it that these guys, if you consider how many drugs they took and the overdoses and everything like that, they seem to have physically weathered the storm pretty well from a health perspective. However, I don't think the same is true of their mental capacity. So we'll just between the bullshit that he comes up with and fucking all the nonsense that Tommy Lee comes up with, or the music Tommy Lee makes and thinks it's good, I think that speaks volumes. And speaking of speaking volumes, it is pissing down with rain here, which means it's a good time for listening to black metal, and I think I'm going to sign off, switch on the old hi-fi, and listen to some right now. Update on the hi-fi front. I know I was raving about SVS subwoofers when I was doing my show, when I did my hi-fi special a couple of weeks ago. My beloved SVS SB4000 has given up the ghost, and I must say, as much as customer service were very helpful, one of the things that they encouraged me to do was to remove the amplifier and stick two paper clips onto a 9-volt battery and see whether I can move the woofer myself to detect where the issue was. Now that stuff is fine, but like I don't want to have to. If I've got a problem with a piece of electronics, especially something that costs nearly £2,000, I don't want to have to open the thing up and pretend to be a junior technician. So the SVS is going to be fixed, sold, and replaced by two REL S812. I think it's S812 subs. I'm going to go pick them up on Saturday. I've heard many demos of RELs. I'm fucking excited about this because, like I said, two subs sound awesome anyway. RELs sound particularly awesome, but most importantly, I can't. I mean, I'm moving in 2 months' time, but I do need something to combat the fucking racket that I hear from my downstairs neighbors. So those subs are going to do the trick. And on that note, I just want to say thank you very much. If you've listened all the way through to the very end, I really appreciate it. I also want to give a quick shout out, actually, to and I know I don't do this often, so I don't think I'm going to stop, making a habit of giving personal shout outs and fucking dedications on the show. But I do want to say that as I am recording this today, a good friend of mine, Errol Kaysen, is celebrating his birthday. And I just want to say happy birthday, Errol. Errol is the kind of dude who would jump in his car at 4 a.m. in the morning, drive 4 hours to London to come and help me move house. And he's a man amongst men, an incredibly loyal guy. I know he listens to the show. So Errol, I hope you're having a fucking great day today. And I hope that, that you count yourself lucky, because there's not a lot of people that I would say this about on the show. To the rest of you, have an awesome week. Thanks again for all of your support. And from the mean streets of Surbiton on the outskirts of London, I am wishing all of you motherfuckers a fond farewell.